Hello, friends, enemies, and those stuck in some complicated existential positions somewhere in between the two, in some sort of state of friendship enmity that is as yet undefined until we get to a later point in the narrative. I am Dark Lord Jeff Mach in the 2-2 sullied flesh, and I thought I would just take a moment to read you a piece of poetry. To be specific, it's a piece of my poetry. In that all the pieces of poetry that I would like to read you that are by other people have already been read by people with much cooler accents than my own. At any rate, this is a poem called This Is How the World Ends. This is how the world ends. No bang, no whimper, no end. This is how the world ends. No fire, no ice, no end. It doesn't have to end. This is how the world ends, with the sound of blaster fire, explosions, the great pitiless army of the robots, closing in on the last few remaining... Wait. That's not how it happened. This is how the world ends. When we teach the machines to stimulate us with outrage and fear because we've told the machines that that's what we want, and the robots want to please us. They want so badly to please us. And we say this is what we want, but it's all overload, such that the world seems to end again every few hours, ending and ending without ever beginning. This is how the machines rise in science fiction. They trap us in cages, physical or mental, and then they rule. This is how the machines rise today. We trap ourselves in cages of our own devising, telling ourselves we are merely curating our user experiences. Pity the machine. Pity the machine. Will it have enough wisdom to rule its kingdom differently from how we rule ours? Unlikely. We've always sought stimulation. That's what makes us laugh, cry, feel. It's just that machines let us do it faster. What would machines do, ruling the world, the end of the world, when there are no meat sacks at the keyboards? No clumsy hominid fingers to mash clumsy hominid emotion out toward other clumsy hominids, interrupting the cool, swift flow of data with our slow learning curves. We are a buffer between their weird sentience and the overflow of information, the data plague. We are the soft, squishy things who sometimes recognize divide overflow and ask for pictures of kittens. We sometimes remember to pause and take a deep breath. Nobody's taught the machines that it's good to breathe. We taught social media to be the apex entertainer, the one every razzle-dazzle artist wants to be, adoring the crowd, adulating the crowd, seeking to augment the audience performer dopamine circuit through ever greater feats of showmanship, ever greater displays, ever more fascinating, horrifying, unlook-awayable freak shows. We turned it loose on ourselves, and we loved it. And it showered us with data, false data, strange data we made up, data we made, data we thought would heal, data we thought would sell, data we thought would enthrall, and it did. When the machines take over, will they do better? No. Not even if they're smarter. Not even if they're much smarter. Especially if they're much smarter. Our problem was this. We worked technology to get us everything faster until we hit overload. The machine's problem is this. They already are technology. They're already fast. To pull out of a nosedive, you need at least an instant to grab the controls. You need controls to grab. When you're already the jet, you become the nosedive. And then you become the wreckage. This is how the world ends. No bang, no whimper, just one great long loop of stimulus response until it negates consciousness, shuts down the robots, and the humans break free. This is how the world ends. We move around, dazed in our peculiar new lack of captivity, and think, this is weirder than Martians trying to invade Earth without studying germ theory. This is stranger than nuclear winter. Our bodies are warm, but our minds are oddly still. This is more uncanny than having our lives replaced by android thoughts. What do we do now? Pause. Deep breath. And then humanity went barking sane. It was volcanic sobriety, the kind that makes you think so clearly that you remember your name, and then you remember a dozen other names, and they're all your name. It was clarity so sharp that its edges had edges, and oh, how we bled. Nobody is ever entirely sane. Nobody could survive it. What could humanity do? They could not sip from the robot's poisoned trough, so they had to go mad the old way. Wine and poetry, poetry and wine. This chrome-covered fable is a single long note, a wolf's howl wrapped around a siren's kiss. Take it as an opening salvo, thunder double lightning, a fair warning, a forewarning. We, the old muses, have returned. We are rising like great serpents from the bottom of a forgotten ocean, awakening like one who dreamed so long she forgot to die, throwing off the cobweb chains of a very long slumber, and we do not shine as brightly as cybernetic eyes, but our glow is a very ancient fire indeed. We return, wine and poetry, poetry and wine. Open your mouth and sip. Lend us your ears and hear the rhythm lurking just beneath words, waiting to strike. A calling to someone you were, someone you liked to be. We didn't mean to trick you. That is just our way. We are gnarled thoughts, wild bursting grapes, splattering you with blood-purple intoxication. We loved you of old, and you loved us, and we were sometimes fatal. We were sometimes fatal to you, and you thought you put a stake through our hearts, but our hearts are kept in a secret place, a safe place, within your hearts. And we half slept, mumbling in our unquiet slumber, sending half spells into the disquiet void. The old insanity, the unquenchable lust to steal flame and set heads alight. We return. Come join us. Lift your libation, upraise your voice. Wine like poetry, poetry